Last year, I went to the Philadelphia Zoo for my love of animals. As I walked into the primate house, I witnessed about 20 to 30 monkeys and apes contained in their individual habitats. I was specifically drawn to the orangutan exhibit. While typically solitary animals, it was sad to see the lone orangutan residing by himself in the corner of a glass enclosed habitat. I glanced to the side to find a sign that explained how the forests of Burma had been cut down, making him an orphan and forced to be brought to the zoo. Just thinking about that made me realize how devastating this issue is. Deforestation took his home away. The livelihood of his species relied on the forest for food, shelter, and a place to grow their young. Not until I had this experience was I able to appreciate the forest that we were privileged enough to encounter. Deforestation takes away the homes of thousands of plants and animals every year, and something must be done to stop it. Through deforestation, we have lost 502,000 square miles of forest and counting, says Nunez. The sheer mass of this forest loss is not recognized by many, as it is simply overlooked by the public. Some of the effects of deforestation include contributions to climate change, soiled waters, and growing lists of endangered species. In addition to the poor effects deforestation has on our planet's inhabitants, the act of clearing for the forests also produces greenhouse gas emissions, says Sarah Doroin. On top of adding toxic gases to the atmosphere, we are destroying the trees that absorb the CO2 that prevents us from breathing. In order to protect ourselves and the rest of the world, we must find a solution that stops deforestation in its tracks. The only way to successfully stop deforestation on the planet is to bring the world's nations together. Much of deforestation is created due to the demand of wood products and their usefulness. By meeting and reaching an agreement to stop excessive forest demolition, the world's trees can begin to come back. As of now, the only multinational agreements regarding the environment address the issues of climate change. The United Nations details the Paris Agreement, an initiative to limit the amount of emissions that are sent into the atmosphere. It also provides funding to create a new sustainable future. While this idea is very beneficial in bringing nations together to solve climate change, it neglects to mention how dangerous a problem deforestation is to this planet. We must create a similar agreement that would make deforestation a thing of the past. A solution that I believe will slow down the effects of deforestation would be to place a limit on the number of trees that may be removed. According to a graph by Rhett Butler, since 2001, over 90 million hectares of tree cover has been lost in South America. The land in and around the Amazon has been hit hardest, as Brazil alone loses over 1 million hectares a year. We can no longer afford to continue using the tactics that we are at risk of losing the millions of acres of trees in the process. I propose that the United Nations, as well as other worldwide groups, an agreement is reached that allows no more than a certain number of trees to be cut down each year. By creating a set limit of trees to be taken down, it gives the forest time to regrow and allows animals to return to their homes. Each nation would have a set number of acres that they are allowed to farm in relation to the size of their country. China, for example, would have a larger limit than, say, Nepal. Going over the limit would result in strict fines as well as significant suspension until sufficient trees are replanted in its place. In addition to a limit, there would also be restrictions on the locations of forest cutting. Agriculture is one of the largest players in the issues of deforestation. According to Deborah Ranca, farmers will cut down extensive amounts of trees to make room for their livestock to graze until the soil is no longer usable. This technique does not allow for the forest to regrow for quite a long time. The agreement would state that tree clearing for agricultural reasons is strictly forbidden for all who sign to be a part of it. If such an agreement can be reached, it will be a valuable step forward towards a healthier planet for everyone. Disagreement is inevitable. Money and time would be the two biggest things standing in the way of reaching an agreement to stop deforestation. Many countries thrive off of the profits that come with selling their lumber to neighboring countries. The global palm oil market expects to reach $92.84 billion in 2021, again, says Sarah DeRoyan. Countries like Indonesia rely on the revenue earned from deforestation to fund many of their daily necessities. To combat this issue, there would be a tax on any harvested wood that is exported to other nations. Indonesia, for example, would earn an additional revenue from the tariffs that are incurred when other countries purchase any of their lumber. This would help keep smaller countries afloat, while in turn helping to deter other countries from importing wood. In terms of time, it may take quite a bit to reach an agreement and change our society's ways to turn to a cleaner, more sustainable resources. Many of the resources taken from trees are vital aspects of today's life. We use 85 million tons of paper a year. When adding up the amount of forest that is cut down to create that sheer mass of paper, it is concerning to realize how destructive we are to our forests. Our society has begun to shift to an all-electronic world, but completely taking wood and paper out of our lives could take years. While it may take some time to fully move away from paper and use of timber and fuel, there can be no progress until any ideas are presented. By starting to have these conversations, we are already closer to a solution than before. No matter what our planet decides to do, it is imperative that some sort of agreement is made to halt deforestation. By limiting the area in which nations can clear trees, we are giving the environment a chance to regrow and give animals the opportunity to come back to their habitats. When we place restrictions on the destruction that agriculture has on the environment, we further improve our planet's chances of survival. As we begin to grow apart from using wood products, we make our planet a better place to live. Improved air quality, increased biodiversity, and a return to normalcy for the environment would have drastic effects on the environment. It may take years or even decades before any decision is reached on how to handle the effects of deforestation. Any agreement between nations will have a positive effect on our environment for now and in the future.